Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship at 1631 Ford Parkway, St. Paul, Minnesota. We meet every Sabbath from 11:30 a.m. to sunset. I try not to twist the Bible. I try not to, well, I differentiate between the prophets of the Bible, which are all true, and modern day prophets, some of which are true, some of which are false. I try to differentiate them. And so I'm going to be mentioning some true and false prophets today. And then news. Sometimes it's fake news, sometimes it's real news. And I try to help you to understand what I think is biblically true and what is biblically false. So as my father taught me, you hold the Bible in one hand and you hold the newspaper in the other hand, and the Bible should help you to interpret the newspaper to know what's true and what's false. So I want to state one more time that Hurricane Dorian paused over the Bahamas and devastated the Bahamas, while the Florida governor flew to Israel, hit the Western Wall, placed his prayer in the wall, and believed sincerely that God would protect the state, and his prayers were answered. His state was not devastated. The Bahamas were. And so maybe the Bahamas leaders should have flown to Israel too and prayed. The main point is for all of you people, whether it's a hurricane, tornado, or whatever else in your life, prayer works. It always has worked. God answers prayer. So believe in prayer. And so if bad things are happening and you're part of these 6 hurricanes that are forming like roaches, then pray. Obviously, that's what you should be doing. I want to comment on the election and prophecies regarding that. And so the most important thing for me is that we're citing that there really isn't a government. There were elections a few times now, but there isn't a government, and that Rabbi Kaduri, now this is the man that met the Messiah. So you can say he's a Kabbalist and he's a Jewish man, but he met the Messiah, and he believed in Messiah Yeshua, and he wrote a coded message to that effect. So I'm sorry. I don't know how you handle that information that he's a Kabbalist rabbi that believes in Yeshua and made a statement to that effect before he died. So Rabbi Kaduri spoke very little, so you had to really listen very carefully to him. One day he was asked a question about the Mashiach. What would happen? What would be the signs preceding his arrival? And his answer was, when there will be elections, but there will not be a government. So this is an article from Breaking Israel News where you see a picture of him and they start to lay out this case. So, and this is 40 years old, so this is basically his prophecy is from 1979. So he also cited Parsimon's Covenant, an ancient book by a Kabbalist, another Kabbalist, Rabbi Sasson Hai Shoshoni, which is made reference to a period when there will come a day that 2 ministers will win the government in the land of Israel. Both of their names will be Benjamin, son of my right hand, and neither of them will succeed in establishing their government or kingship. So Benny Gantz, Benjamin, son of my right hand, Benjamin, Netanyahu. So they're both Benjamins, and it's interesting that these prophecies match. So this is from the Jerusalem Post. Now keep in mind, that's a liberal newspaper. They do not believe in prophecy, but they have to cite it because it's amazing. And, the nation state of Israel shouldn't even exist based on the fact that they shouldn't have won in 1948-49. They shouldn't have won in 67. They should have really lost in 73. So these are all miracles, and there are more coming. So this is from Sputnik, and that's the note off to the right-hand side where he writes in Hebrew, and you don't read Hebrew, and it's very difficult even for me to read. Wow. Anyway, he wrote it on a little note there, and he said he met the Messiah. And the funny thing is that another gentleman, and I'm blanking on the name of the gentleman. Oh, it was the Rebbe. It was the Rebbe, Schneerson, said you will meet the Mashiach before you die, and he did. So he's talking about a fight in heaven, a fight. That sounds like Revelation 12. So one, he believed in the Torah, the whole Bible, I would say, and in Messiah Yeshua, and he's talking about a fight in heaven, which is Revelation 12. So let's see what he says in the Jerusalem Post. And this is the note over here. I'll read that on the right-hand side. So regarding the Rosh HaShanah of Mashiach, the people shall lift up and verify that his word and his Torah stand, written with my signature in the month of 5765, so recommend Elul, just before. So we're in that right now, actually. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's Kaduri, so it means laughter. That's his first name. So The main thing is in code, that means Yeshua. And I'll show you that in just a little bit here. So Kaduri reportedly wrote that on the eve of the year 5780, 2020, in our calendar coming up, the year of corrections, there will not be a government in Israel for an extended period, and the various camps will be quarreling, much without a decision on either side. And then on Rosh HaShanah, the Jewish New Year itself, they will fight in heaven. Once again, that sounds like Revelation 12. The holy side against the side of evil, and God and his entourage will decide between them. And this is all I can say. From here I swore not to reveal more secrets and hidden things. Here's another way of stating it, and this is from Breaking Israel News again. So this is once again written in 1979 on the eve of the fifth cycle of 1,000 years, the year 5780, in the year of fixing. Okay, that's what it's known as. There will be no government in Israel for an extended period, and the different camps will fight and argue a great deal without any conclusion in this way or the other. Then on Rosh HaShanah, the Jewish New Year, which will be next Sunday evening, okay, that's just a few days from now, that's the 29th and the 30th of September, the side of holiness will battle with the side of darkness in heaven until God himself and his host will decide the issue. So it's very interesting. And there are many other sources in Judaism that point this way. But with Kaduri, he was a believer in Yeshua. So you can't discount that. You can't throw his comments away. So let's read Revelation 12. And keep in mind, I believe that Revelation 11 with the two witnesses, they pop up before we go into Great Tribulation, people. It just seems like they pop up 6 months to a month before we go into the final 7 years. Now, there was a battle in heaven. Michael and his angels fought back against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back, but it was not strong enough to win, so that there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was thrown out, that ancient serpent, also known as the devil and Satan, the Hasatan, and that means the adversary, the deceiver of the whole world. He was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him. So that's Revelation 12, 7 through 9. Now, two women came out in August, 1st and 2nd, and they said, oh, Satan's been cast out of heaven. Well, you know what? If he's cast out, he's going to be really, really angry, and we know it down here. So they're both false prophets. And that helped me to figure out that Elizabeth Marie and Barbara Kazmierski, I think it is, they are both false prophets. So she's known as God's healer 7, but she never gets healed. She gets sicker all the time. So just keep that in mind, that he has not been cast out yet, but Rosh HaShanah would be the appropriate time for judgment to occur. That is the day of judgment on God's calendar. So my comment is God's comment on this, that God made the heaven and the earth. He made the man and the beast upon the face of the earth by God's great power, and by his outstretched arm, he gives it to whoever it seems right unto God. And now I have given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, who was not necessarily a wonderful human being, but he was the man, the head of gold, so to speak, in the Daniel 2 dream. So he's the king of Babylon at that point in time. He's his servant, and the beasts of the field also have I given to serve him, and the nations shall serve him, and his son's son, until Va'et. This is the time his own land shall come, that time, and then many nations. So if I was in Genesis 48:19 or Romans 11, I think it's 25, you will see this phrase Meloha Goyim, the fullness of the Gentiles. There are these times when God says, that's it, that's the demarcation time, and everything changes. And maybe Rosh Hashanah in a few days here will be that time. I don't know, but God determines. These people who are the leaders, and if you're not a leader, then God didn't determine you to be a leader. He wins in all cases. And we still have free will, to keep that in mind. So, I believe Kaduri is a true prophet because he's never been wrong, and he believed in Yeshua, and he was a brilliant man and a wonderful, godly man. Okay, now, Frank believes in Yeshua too, but Frank said there would be a 10.0 earthquake hitting California by 9/23/19. Now, 10.0 would be horrific. So Frank was wrong. Frank hasn't really talked about it since then. I think he's a good guy. I just don't think that he understands prophecy. If you go back to 2012 and you read my book, you're going to see that I messed up the prophecy. That there would be a Hurricane Sandy, and it would happen before the end of October, and it ended up being on Halloween. It started, and it was really aligning with the false Sukkot from 1 Kings 12. Well, I didn't know that because I didn't wait to publish my book until Mark, another gentleman, mentioned to me, well, I'm the second witness to this, and this is what it means. I just published. So obviously there is a skill, and it's called waiting on the Lord for an answer to these prophecies, and you should always get the 2 witnesses or 3. Frank didn't do that. Now, this is another lady. Her YouTube channel is looking towards the heaven for Jesus. And she's saying, oh my goodness, the fall of Babylon. So she's saying California, a mega earthquake, the San Andreas fault is just going to break up. Okay, so it sounds like Frank, but she's not giving days or times. The New Madrid area of St. Louis, from basically Illinois south to New Orleans, basically will break up, and you'll have America divided. The Yellowstone will break up and have a great earthquake and volcanic eruptions. New York City will have earthquakes to tsunamis and war from Russia. And then tsunamis in Florida, Texas, Gulf states, and Russia and China and military. Basically, this is the fall of Babylon, America. That's what she's saying. I don't know if she's a true prophet or not, but I just want to cite it because, Dudeman, Wilkerson, so David Wilkerson from Times Square Church in downtown New York. Maybe that's uptown, I don't know. But anyway, a wonderful, godly man said America is going to fall at some point in time, and these types of things would happen. Dudeman said the same thing, Dimitri Dudeman, as he came over from Romania. Both of those men were great witnesses. And I've met Dudeman's grandson, Michael Boldea, wonderful, wonderful man. And I have met Henry Groover, the third man that said that too. So these messages aren't just unique. They've been stated for 20, 30, 40 years. Now, there are false prophets, because if keep in mind, Benny Hinn did apologize for taking money from people and saying, you need to cede $1,000, but he didn't give anything back. And if you remember Nicodemus, not Nicodemus, but Zacchaeus, he gave money back. He gave a lot back. There's restitution, and that's important. Now, this is Kim Chadwell, and she called out Rick Wiles and Franklin Graham and the Duger family. I don't know who they are. Byron Searle, he is a false prophet. Jeff Byerly, Mina Lee Grebin, she's a friend of mine. We talked about this. And Jeff Byerly and I talked about it too. Jeremiah Johnson, she called out all these people on 9/11 and said, you have 10 days to repent. Well, nothing's happened to them. And here's how she said, I am calling out your name. A serious 10-day warning. I think she just wanted attention, and these people didn't give her attention, and she got angry. So she's a false prophet. Now, I have no idea of how a wonderful guy named Sadhu Sundar Severage from India would bring Jennifer LeClaire into these meetings, but he did. And the interesting thing is he kept on saying, I have the meetings in Berlin because the dragon, Satan, will nest in Berlin. And so just keep that in mind. He did mention also that he would have 3 locations that the Antichrist would manage from. And Berlin would be the political headquarters. Then the monetary headquarters would be from actually the old Babylon. That's in Iraq. And then the religious headquarters is supposed to be in Jerusalem. So those are his 3 locations. One of those will sustain a head wound. Only one of them. And so that will cause problems. I don't know which one it will be, but one will, and that's from Revelation 13 with the head wound. So he won't die per se, but one of his kingdoms will be destroyed, maybe a nuke or something like that. So Sadhu is being more specific, but why would you have Jennifer LeClaire on? I mean, obviously she just memorizes prophetic words and just spews them. Well, that is not prophecy, people, okay? I want to show you, here's the end of 5779, and then what we would see then on Sunday and Monday, the 29th and the 30th, is the start of Rosh HaShanah, and that is going to be the year 5780, and it could start out with a bang. It could. If Satan's cast out of heaven, you'll notice it, people. Then you have Yom Kippur. So basically, the Day of Judgment is Rosh HaShanah, then Yom Kippur is that final settlement date, and then things are meted out during Sukkot, so just keep that in mind. And Sukkot starts on the 13th, 14th of October, and it goes all the way through. The last day should be the 21st of October. And so I also want you to be aware for fireworks days that there's Jeroboam's false Sukkot. That was 2012, people, and that is Heshvan 15 through 22. And here it is, in Noah's flood is in the middle of that day too, and also my birthday's in there, November 2nd. So just keep that in mind. That's always been my perfect day to kick off the Great Tribulation, because it generally ends up in a Rosh HaShanah 7 years later. But just keep in mind, Noah's flood started on the 17th of Heshvan, and I was born, I think, on the 19th of Heshvan, so it's just interesting. And so it's just watch November 2. You know, that's the false Sukkot time. Judgment in 2012 was meted out during that time frame. Just be aware of it. And then, if you want to have fun and watch something really, really uplifting, something good for your soul, Joe Good spoke at our place at Beth Hesed last Sabbath. And so, if you go to the Facebook page for me, Joel Blackford, and just look for the videos, there are 3 videos there. They're about 2 hours long each. But Joe Good, if you think I know my Hebrew and Greek, and you think I know my Bible, he's a teacher's teacher. He's a scholar's scholar. Joe Good just he embarrassed me with how much he knew, and he really did a marvelous job. So once again, it's my Joel Blackford Facebook page, and just click on the videos and watch them and be blessed. So thank you very much. I believe we're in Seal 3, waiting for Seal 4. I believe that we've gone through these things that you see there. I'll cover it some other time. And that's it. And I want you to be blessed, and thank you very much for giving me some of your time. Be blessed. Bye-bye.